2 years had passed since the humans left. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stood nearly empty. Many delegates could no longer travel. Their worlds were too busy fighting for survival. Counselor Velthari sat alone in the archives, reading through thousands of old reports. His crystalline form was dim and cracked. The pride that once made him glow had faded to shame. "Computer, show me human contribution records from the past 200 years," he ordered. The screen filled with data. The numbers were staggering. Humans had managed 67% of all refugee operations. They ran 82% of frontier medical stations. They handled 71% of trade disputes. They provided 89% of emergency response teams. They mediated 94% of cultural conflicts. "Why didn't I see this before?" Velthari whispered. He opened specific case files. The Sorrow War refugees. Only humans had opened their worlds when millions fled the conflict. The silent plague of 2387. Human doctors had died alongside alien patients, refusing to abandon them. The Great Famine of the Outer Rim. Humans had shared their own food reserves without being asked. Computer, analyze human motivation in these cases. What did they gain? "No material gain detected," the computer replied. Humans often operated at significant loss of resources. Then why did they help? Insufficient data for conclusion. Human behavior pattern suggests emotional motivation rather than logical benefit. Velthari leaned back. Emotional motivation, the very thing the council had mocked. A message alert broke his thoughts. It was from the frontier sensors. Massive fleet detected approaching council space. Unknown origin. Estimated arrival, 72 hours. Velthari rushed to the command center. The few remaining military officials were in panic. "How many ships?" Velthari demanded. "Over 10,000, reported the Altarian defense coordinator. "They're not responding to our signals. Their technology, we've never seen anything like it." "What about our defense fleet?" The coordinator's feathers drooped. "What fleet? Half our ships are dealing with pirates. The others are trying to maintain order on collapsing worlds. We have maybe 300 vessels that can respond." 300 against 10,000, Velthari said quietly. "Send a message to human space. Tell them about the incoming fleet." "The humans haven't answered our calls in months," someone reminded him. "Try anyway, and this time, say please." On New Sol Station, Jiwoo studied the same sensor data. The human frontier post had detected the unknown fleet days ago. "They're heading straight for the Council Core worlds," reported Taehyun. "Whatever they are, they're not friendly." "Any identification?" Jiwoo asked. "Negative, but their weapon signatures match theoretical models of dimensional weaponry. This could be a species from beyond our galaxy." Minji entered the room. The council sent another message. They're begging for help this time. Velthari himself used the word please. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at Jiwoo. "Get me the full Human Defense Committee," Jiwoo ordered. "Emergency session." Within an hour, human leaders from across their space appeared on screens. "The council is about to be invaded," Jiwoo explained. "They have no defenses, no unity, no hope. They're asking for our help." "Let them burn," said the Mars representative. "They made their choice." "There are billions of innocent lives at stake," countered the Earth delegate. "Species that had no say in the council's decision." "What about our own defense?" asked New Tokyo's leader. "If we help the council, we leave ourselves vulnerable." Jiwoo stood up. "I've been thinking about why we're different. Why humans always end up helping, even when it costs us everything. And I think I know." He looked around at the faces on the screens. "We remember being alone," he continued. "We remember looking at the stars and hoping someone would answer our calls. We remember being weak, being scared, being desperate. That memory drives us to be the help we once hoped to find." "The council never felt that," said Sung-ho. "They were always strong, always advanced. They never knew what it meant to need help." "Exactly," Jiwoo agreed. "But now they're learning, and we have a choice. We can let that lesson destroy them, or we can be who we are, the species that helps even when others don't deserve it. What about our pride? Someone asked. They called us a minor species. They said we weren't worthy. Bora spoke up. Maybe. Our worth isn't determined by what others think. Maybe it's determined by what we do. The debate continued for an hour. In the end, they voted. The result was close, but clear. Humanity would help. Within 6 hours, the human fleet assembled. Ships appeared from hidden bases across the galaxy. The Council had never known how many vessels humanity really had. In the Council chambers, Velthari received the message, Human fleet en route. ETA, 18 hours. Stand by for coordination. Admiral Jiwoo, Human Defense Force. Velthari's crystal. Form flickered with an emotion he'd never felt before. Humility. How many human ships, he asked his aide. 15,000 and rising. They're still arriving. 15,000? But they told us they only had a few hundred vessels. Apparently, sir, humans don't reveal all their capabilities. The unknown invaders reached the outer systems. Their weapons tore through space itself. The few Council ships that tried to stop them vanished in flashes of twisted light. Then the humans arrived. The battle was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships fought with desperate creativity. They used tactics no computer would suggest. They took risks no logical species would consider. They sacrificed themselves to save ships belonging to species that had scorned them. Jiwoo commanded from the flagship Remember Tomorrow. His orders were calm but urgent. Delta Wing, hit their flank. Use the asteroid field for cover. Copy that, Admiral. For humanity. No, Jiwoo corrected. For everyone. The battle raged for days. Human medics treated wounded from all species. Human engineers repaired any ship that asked for help. Human pilots flew rescue missions into impossible danger. Slowly, incredibly, the tide turned. The invaders, faced with humanity's chaotic brilliance, began to retreat. As the last enemy ship fled into dimensional space, a strange silence fell over the battlefield. The humans had won, but more importantly, they had saved the galaxy that had rejected them. In the Council chambers, Velthari waited as Jiwoo entered. The human looked tired but satisfied. Why? Velthari asked simply. Why did you save us? Jiwoo smiled. Because that's what humans do. We don't help others because they deserve it. We help because we can. We protect because it's right. We care because we choose to. The Council? We were wrong about you, Velthari admitted. You're not a minor species. You're the best of us, all. We're not better, Jiwoo said. We're just different. We lead with our hearts instead of our heads. Sometimes that's a weakness, but sometimes it's exactly what the galaxy needs. Will you come back? Velthari asked. The Council needs you. We all need you. Jiwoo looked around the chamber where humanity had been dismissed 2 years ago. We'll come back, he said, but not as subjects, as equals. Full Council membership, equal voice, equal respect. Yes, Velthari said without hesitation. Anything you want. We don't want anything, Minji added, entering the room. We just want to help, that's all we ever wanted. As news spread across the galaxy, celebrations erupted on countless worlds. The humans were coming back, the helpers were returning. The following days, human ships spread throughout Council space. They brought medicine for the plague. They restored trade routes. They mediated conflicts. They rebuilt what had been lost. But more than that, they brought hope. The Council learned its greatest lesson. Strength wasn't about technology or power or logic. True strength was the courage to care for others, even when they couldn't care for themselves. As Jiwoo often said, the galaxy is vast and cold, but together we make it warm. The humans had withdrawn. The Council had realized too late what they'd lost. But in the end, humanity's greatest trait, their compassion, had saved them all. Because that's what humans do. 18 months had passed since the humans left. The galaxy was falling apart. Trade Commissioner Dae-hyun's old office in the Council headquarters gathered dust. His computer screens were dark. The complex programs he had built over decades sat unused. Nobody knew how to run them. In the council's trade center, Administrator Zelvar stared at screens full of red numbers. Everything was going wrong. The Centauri wouldn't trade with the Draenari. The Voidlings refused to accept standard credits. The food distribution network had crashed 3 times this week. Computer run trade optimization program, Zelvar ordered. Error. Human-designed software requires authorization code, the computer replied. Zelvar hit the desk with 3 of his tentacles. This was the same problem every day. The humans had built the trade systems, and now those systems were failing. A message flashed on his screen. Another crisis. Food shipments to Outer Rim colonies are 3 weeks late, reported a worried voice. People are starting to starve. Redirect supplies from Sector 9, Zelvar ordered. Sector 9 shipments are reserved for the core worlds. Another, Administrator said. Council Directive 7 Alpha. Then use emergency reserves. The emergency reserves were distributed last month. There's nothing left. Zelvar slumped in his chair. In the old days, Daehyun would have found a solution. The human had an amazing ability to make everyone happy. He knew which species could wait and which needed help immediately. He understood cultural differences and dietary needs. Most importantly, he had personal relationships with traders across the galaxy. Sir, a young assistant said, the Morvac are threatening to close their grain markets unless we resolve their dispute with the Saurians. What dispute? Zelvar asked tiredly. Something about water rights on a shared colony. The humans used to mediate these conflicts. Zelvar pulled up the file. The dispute was complicated, involving ancient claims and religious beliefs. He had no idea how to solve it. On New Sol Station, Daehyun watched the news with his team. The reports were getting worse each day. Currency crisis in the Vega sector, his assistant Hyojin read. 3 planets have stopped accepting council credits. Of course they have, Daehyun said. The credit system only works if everyone trusts it. Without proper management, that trust disappears. The ethereal banks are about to collapse, added another team member. They're calling it the worst financial crisis in galactic history. Daehyun shook his head. We spent 50 years building that financial system. We created safeguards, backup plans, emergency protocols, but it all required active management. You can't just set it and forget it. The council is asking for economic advisors, Hyojin said. They're offering huge payments. Let me guess, Daehyun replied. They want our knowledge, but they still don't want us as equals. They haven't mentioned permanent council seats or equal representation, Hyojin confirmed. Then my answer is no, Daehyun said firmly. Back in council space, the crisis deepened. Factory worlds couldn't get raw materials. Agricultural planets couldn't ship their harvests. Mining colonies ran out of equipment. The complex web of trade that connected thousands of worlds was unraveling. Councillor Velthari called an emergency session. The Great Hall was half empty. Many delegates couldn't travel due to fuel shortages. The situation is difficult, Velthari began. His crystalline form was now dull and cracked. The confidence was gone from his musical voice. Difficult, shouted the Zephyrian delegate. My world is in chaos. We have food rotting in warehouses while other planets starve. No one knows how to fix the distribution systems. The humans left documentation, Velthari said weakly. Have you tried reading it? The delegate shot back. It's thousands of pages of code and procedures. Without training, it's useless. Councillor Piptic raised a furry paw. I've been researching old records. Do you know what the humans actually did for us? They didn't just run systems. They connected people. They learned every culture, every language, every tradition. They built trust between species that had hated each other for millennia. They were manipulative, Velthari insisted, but his words lacked conviction. They were diplomatic, Piptic corrected. They found common ground where none existed. They made friends everywhere, and friends trade with friends, even when times are hard. A security alert interrupted the debate. The Saurian fleet had moved to the border of Morvac space. The water rights dispute was about to become a war. "Deploy peacekeepers," Velthari ordered. "We have no peacekeepers," his military advisor replied. "The humans ran the peacekeeping forces. Our species don't trust each other enough to serve together." As the council argued about what to do, Jiwoo received an encrypted message on New Seoul Station. It was from an old friend, Captain Zora of the Drenari Fleet. Jiwoo, the message, read, "I know I have no right to ask, but my people need help. We're about to go to war with our neighbors over a stupid misunderstanding. You know how these things escalate. Can you at least talk to us? Unofficially?" Jiwoo shared the message with his team. "It's starting," said Minji. "Local conflicts are breaking out. Without mediators, they'll spread." "The council created this mess," Taehyun argued. "Let them fix it." "But it's not the council who'll die in these wars," Hyunwoo pointed out. "It's ordinary people, soldiers, civilians, children." Jiwoo was torn. Human policy was clear. No intervention in council affairs. But his conscience pulled him in another direction. In the council chambers, desperate measures were being discussed. "We could hire mercenaries to enforce trade agreements," suggested one delegate. "Mercenaries have no loyalty," another replied. "They'll make things worse." "What about dividing the galaxy into sectors? Each species manages their own region. That's not unity. That's surrender. The council exists to bring us together, not drive us apart." Velthari listened to the arguments with growing despair. Everything they tried made things worse. The humans had somehow made it all work smoothly. But how? Late that night, he accessed the archived footage from old council meetings. He watched Daehyun mediate trade disputes. He saw Minji translate not just words but meanings between cultures. He observed Jiwoo calm tensions with a joke or a story. It wasn't about systems or technology. It was about understanding people. "Computer," Velthari said quietly, "show me the human departure speech again." Jiwoo's words echoed in the empty chamber. "We remember being weak. We remember being alone in the dark." For the first time, Velthari began to understand. Humans were good at bringing others together because they remembered being apart. They built bridges because they knew how it felt to be stranded. They helped the weak because they remembered being powerless. "We didn't lose a minor species," Velthari whispered to himself. "We lost the heart of our civilization." As another day dawned, the galaxy continued its slow collapse. Pirates ruled the outer systems. Plague consumed entire worlds. Trade ground to a halt. Local wars erupted like brush fires. The Galactic Council, which had stood for 10,000 years, was failing, not from external attack or natural disaster, but from the simple absence of a species they had considered beneath them. In human space, life continued normally. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The minor species thrived while the advanced civilizations crumbled. The question now wasn't whether the council would ask for help. It was whether they would ask in time, and whether human compassion could overcome human pride. As Daehyun often said, "The hardest part of any negotiation is admitting you need help." The council was learning this lesson one disaster at a time. 1 year had passed since the humans left. The pirate attacks continued, but now something worse had arrived. Dr. Sung-ho sat in his laboratory on New Earth, studying medical reports from council space. His assistant, Bo-Ra, brought him another cup of coffee. "The news from the ethereal sector is bad," she said. "The plague is spreading faster." Sung-ho nodded sadly. He had warned the council about this possibility before humans left. Disease didn't care about politics or pride. In the council's medical station, Dr. Velnox worked without rest. The Altarian scientist had 12 arms, and all of them were busy. Test tubes bubbled, computers beeped, microscopes hummed. But nothing worked. The plague had started on a small mining world called Dust Haven. Within days, half the population was sick. The symptoms were strange. Victims lost control of their bodies, shaking and twitching. Then they lost their minds, speaking nonsense. Finally, they fell into a deep sleep and never woke up. Computer analyze sample 847, Velnox ordered. Unable to identify pathogen, the computer replied. Unknown biological structure. Velnox slammed one of his arms on the desk. This was the same answer he'd gotten for weeks. The door opened, and Counselor Zaktul entered. The shadow spider looked worried. How many worlds now? Velnox asked without looking up. 12 star systems, Zaktul replied. The quarantine isn't working. Somehow the plague jumps between planets even when we block all travel. We need more information, Velnox said. This disease, it's like nothing in our databases. Zaktul hesitated. What about the human medical archives? They studied diseases for thousands of years. Gone, Velnox said bitterly. When the humans left, they took all their research with them. Their medical stations are empty. Their computers are wiped clean. A young scientist named Draco spoke up from across the room. I worked with human doctors once. They talked about something called the Sleeping Death, a plague from old Earth legends. Legends won't help us, Velnox snapped. But Draco continued. They said it wasn't really from Earth. They found it on a dead world centuries ago. The humans studied it, learned to treat it. Dr. Sung Ho himself led the research team. Then, contact him, Zaktul ordered. We've tried, Velnox said. The humans don't answer our medical calls anymore. They made that clear when they left. Handle your own problems, they said. The plague spread faster. Refugee ships fled infected worlds, but they carried the sickness with them. Space stations closed their doors. Planets shot down approaching. Vessels. Fear spread even faster than disease. In the council chambers, panic had replaced pride. My world is dying, cried the representative from Crystal Dreams. Half our population is infected. We need help. Velthari sat in his high chair, but he no longer glowed with confidence. His crystalline form was dull and cracked. We've sent our best doctors, he said weakly. Your best isn't good enough, shouted another delegate. The humans dealt with plagues like this. They had treatments, vaccines, quarantine protocols that actually worked. The humans are gone, Velthari repeated for the 100th time. Then bring them back, several voices shouted at once. On New Earth, Dr. Sung Ho received an unexpected visitor. A small ship had arrived, broadcasting an emergency medical signal. Against protocol, he allowed it to land. The visitor was Nurse Quinta, a furry creature, from the world of gentle winds. She had worked with Sung Ho years ago. Doctor, she said, tears in her large eyes. My people are dying. The plague has reached us. Our children fall asleep and never wake. Please, I know the council wronged humanity, but you're a doctor. You took an oath to help the sick. Sung Ho was quiet for a long moment. The Sleeping Death Plague. I remember it. You can cure it? Quinta asked hopefully. We developed a treatment 20 years ago, Sung Ho said, but it requires specific compounds. The manufacturing process is complex and the council can burn, Quinta said fiercely. I don't care about politics, I care about saving lives. You taught me that. Bora stepped forward. Dr. Sung Ho, we still have the research, data. We could synthesize the treatment. Sung Ho looked between his assistant and his old student. The Human Federation Council has forbidden sharing medical technology with the Galactic Council, but not with individuals, Bora pointed out. Quinta came here as a person, not a representative. A small smile crossed Sung Ho's face. You've learned to think like a human, Quinta. Very well. We'll prepare a batch of the treatment, but only enough for your world. As they worked, news from Council space grew worse. The plague mutated, becoming even deadlier. Entire species faced extinction. Trade stopped completely. Civilization began to crack. Velnox worked himself to exhaustion. He had tried everything, radiation therapy, chemical treatments, even nanobots. Nothing worked. The plague adapted to everything they threw at it. It's almost intelligent, he muttered, studying the latest samples. Like it knows what we're going to do. His assistant pulled up an old file. Sir, I found something. A partial record from a human medical conference. Dr. Sung Ho mentioned that this plague has a quantum signature. It exists partly in another dimension. That's impossible, Velnok said. But then he looked at his failed experiments. Maybe impossible was exactly what they were dealing with. Back on New Earth, Quinta prepared to leave with the medicine. Sung Ho handed her a sealed case. The blue vials are the treatment, he explained. The green ones are vaccines for those not yet infected. The instructions are inside. Thank you, Quinta said. But what about the other worlds? Billions are dying. Sung Ho's face was sad but firm. The council made their choice. They said humans were too emotional, too soft. They said our compassion was weakness. Now they learn what happens when compassion leaves. But you're doctors, Quinta protested. You help everyone. We did, Bora said quietly. For 200 years we helped everyone. We shared our knowledge freely. We asked for nothing in return except respect. And what did we get? They called us a minor species. They said we weren't worthy of a permanent council seat. Quinta left with her medicine, but her heart was heavy. She understood human anger, but she also knew the cost of pride. As her ship departed, Jiwoo contacted Sung Ho. The council has sent another request for medical assistance, Jiwoo said. This time they're offering us anything we want. Full council membership, control of the medical division, unlimited resources. What did you tell them? Sung Ho asked. Nothing yet. I wanted to talk to you first. You know this plague better than anyone. Sung Ho was quiet for a long time. Outside his window he could see New Earth's forests and cities. Safe, protected, healthy. While in council space, worlds died in silence. The treatment exists, he finally said. We could save them all. The question is, should we? That's not a medical question, Jiwoo said. That's a human question, and humans, we're complicated. As another day ended, the plague continued its deadly march across the galaxy. The council learned that all their advanced technology meant nothing against a threat they didn't understand. They had lost more than human medical knowledge. They had lost human intuition, human curiosity, and human determination to save lives at any cost. In their pride, they had sent away the very people who could have saved them. Now they waited, hoping that human compassion was stronger than human anger. But hope was fading, just like the lights on a dozen dying worlds. 6 months had passed since the humans left. The Galactic Council still met in their great hall, but something felt different. The air seemed colder. The lights seemed dimmer. Councillor Velthari sat in his high chair, his crystal body glowing with satisfaction. The galaxy was running smoothly without humans. Or so he kept telling himself. Today's meeting started like any other. Council members discussed trade routes and tax rates. Everything seemed normal until a red light began flashing on the main screen. Emergency message from Sector 7G, announced the computer voice. The screen flickered to life. A terrified face appeared. Commander Thizon of the Zephyrian Defense Force. His feathered face was covered in soot and his uniform was torn. Council, we need help, he shouted. Void pirates are attacking our mining colonies. They came out of nowhere. Our ships are gone. Behind him, explosions lit up the sky. The sound of laser fire filled the transmission. Velthari straightened in his chair. How many pirate ships? At least 50, Thizon gasped. They knew exactly where to hit us. They destroyed our shield generators first, then our communication towers. We can't. The screen went black. Silence filled the chamber. Then everyone started talking at once. Deploy the response fleet, ordered Velthari. Which fleet? Asked Councillor Zaktul. The humans managed all pirate suppression in that sector. Then, send the Altarian fleet, Velthari said. The Altarian delegate's tentacles drooped. Our ships are designed for peaceful exploration. We don't have weapons strong enough to fight void pirates. What about the Morvac battlecruisers? Someone suggested. The Morvac delegate shook his scaled head. Our ships are too slow. The pirates will be gone before we arrive. More red lights began flashing. More emergency calls came in. Pirates attacking the Kepler trade station. Raiders hitting the supply depot on Vega Prime. Colony ship under attack near the Helix Nebula. The map of the galaxy filled with red dots. Each dot was an attack. The pirates were everywhere at once. Counselor Piptic spoke up, his silver fur trembling. "Where is the human rapid response force? They always stopped the pirates before they could attack multiple targets." An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. "The humans are gone," Velthari reminded them. "We must use our own forces." "But sir," said a military advisor, "the humans had a special way of fighting pirates. They used small, fast ships. They knew the pirates' hiding places. They had informants in every port." "Then we'll do the same," Velthari declared. "Send scouts to find their bases." 3 days later, the scouts returned. Half of them didn't come back at all. "The pirates have new weapons," reported a survivor. "Plasma cannons that can punch through our shields, and they move through space like ghosts. We can't track them." The attacks continued. Trade ships stopped flying. Colonies sent desperate calls for help. The price of food and fuel began to rise as supply lines broke down. In the human section of the galaxy, Captain Jiwoo watched the news reports from his office on New Seoul Station. His old friend Tai-hyun sat across from him, studying the tactical displays. "The Void Pirates are getting bolder," Tae-hyun observed. "They never attacked this many targets when we were patrolling." Jiwoo nodded. "We kept them afraid. Our patrol patterns were unpredictable. Our intelligence network was everywhere, and most importantly, we understood how they think." "The Council forces are too rigid," Tae-hyun said. "They follow protocols, pirates don't." A message appeared on Jiwoo's screen. It was from the Border Patrol. "Council ship requesting permission to enter human space," the message read. "They say it's urgent." Jiwoo sighed. "Let them through, but scan them carefully." An hour later, Ambassador Kretok of the Vegan Republic stood in Jiwoo's office. The plant-like alien's leaves were wilted with stress. "Captain Jiwoo," Kretok began, "I come not as a council member but as a friend. My people are suffering. The pirates raid our food transports. Our colonies are starving." "I'm sorry to hear that," Jiwoo said politely. "You knew this would happen," Kretok accused. "When humans left, you knew the pirates would attack." Jiwoo leaned back in his chair. "The council said they didn't need us. They said they could handle their own security." "Pride," Kretok admitted. "The council's pride blinded them. But my people don't care about pride. They care about survival. Will you help us?" Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. "The Human Federation's first duty is to protect human lives. We're already stretched thin defending our own borders." "But you're not being attacked," Kretok pointed out. "The pirates leave human space alone. Why?" Tae-hyun smiled grimly. "Because they remember what happened the last time they attacked. Humans. We hunted down every single pirate ship. We found their hidden bases. We made examples of their leaders. It took us 3 years, but we got them all." "The current pirates are new groups," Jiwoo added. "But they know the stories. They know humans fight differently. We don't just defend. We go on the offensive. We make it personal." Kretok's leaves drooped further. "Then we are lost. The council will never officially ask for help. Velthari would rather see worlds burn than admit he was wrong." After Kretok left, Jiwoo called a meeting of the Human Defense Committee. Representatives from Earth, Mars, New Seoul, and a dozen other worlds appeared on the screen. "The situation in council space is getting worse," Jiwoo reported. "Pirates are attacking freely. Trade is collapsing. Colonies are being abandoned." "Not our problem," said the Mars representative. "They made their choice." "There are billions of innocent beings suffering," countered the Earth representative. "Families who had nothing to do with the council's decision." The debate went on for hours. In the end, they reached a compromise. "We'll increase patrols along our borders," Jiwoo announced. "If pirates cross into human space, we'll stop them. We'll also accept refugees from attacked colonies. But we won't enter council space, unless officially invited." Meanwhile, in the council chambers, Velthari faced a room full of angry delegates. 20 colonies attacked this month," shouted the Draenari representative. 37 trade ships lost. When will you admit your defense plan has failed? We need more time to adapt, Velthari insisted. The humans had centuries of experience. Fighting pirates, we're still learning. We don't have centuries, Piptic squeaked. My world depends on grain shipments from the outer colonies. Without them, we'll face famine in 3 months. More arguments erupted. Some delegates wanted to hire mercenaries. Others suggested building bigger warships. A few quietly whispered about asking the humans to return. That night, Velthari stood alone in his private chamber, looking out at the stars. For the first time in his long life, he felt doubt creeping into his crystalline mind. The humans had made it look so easy. Oh, few patrol ships here, a quick strike there, and the pirates stayed hidden. Now, without human presence, the pirates grew bolder each day. But it wasn't just about ships and weapons. The humans had networks of informants. They understood criminal psychology. They knew how to think like their enemies. The Council had technology. They had resources. They had powerful fleets. But they didn't have the human touch, that mix of intuition, aggression, and cunning that kept the darkness at bay. As another emergency alert flashed on his screen, Velthari began to understand. The humans hadn't just been patrolling space. They'd been holding back chaos itself, and chaos was winning. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was huge and cold. Its walls were made of strange metal that changed color with the light. Today, those walls looked gray, like storm clouds. Captain Jiwoo stood in the center of the room. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. His blue uniform was clean and pressed with small medals on his chest. Each medal told a story of battles fought and lives saved. But today, none of that mattered. Beside him stood Ambassador Minji. She was younger, with short black hair and glasses. Her job was to speak for all humans in the galaxy. Today would be her last speech. Around them sat the members of the Galactic Council. Each one came from a different world, a different species. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of crystal or floating gas. A few had tentacles instead of arms. They all thought they were better than humans. Counselor Velthari sat in the highest chair. He was the leader of the council. His body was made of blue crystal that sparkled like stars. When he moved, he made soft ringing sounds like wind chimes. The Human Federation has asked for this emergency meeting, Velthari said. His voice was cold and musical. State your purpose, humans. Jiwoo nodded to Minji. She stepped forward and cleared her throat. Members of the Galactic Council, she began. I bring a message from Earth and all human colonies. After long thought and many discussions, we have made a decision. The alien counselors whispered to each other. Their translators clicked and hummed as they spoke in their own languages. The Human Federation hereby withdraws from all Council territories, Minji said clearly. We are leaving. This will happen immediately. The whispers stopped. For a moment, the Great Hall was completely silent. Then Velthari laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. The humans finally accept their place, he said. You are a minor species. Young, emotional, not fit for galactic leadership. Other counselors began to laugh too. Some made sounds like buzzing. Others gurgled like water going down a drain. Jiwoo's hands tightened into fists, but he kept his face calm. He had known this would happen. We are taking our people home, Minji continued. All humans will leave council space within 30 days. We take nothing but our ships and our citizens. Counselor Zaktul leaned forward. He looked like a giant spider made of shadows. What about your commitments, your trade agreements, your defense contracts? All contracts end today, Minji replied. You have told us many times that humans are not needed. Now you can prove it. The Morvac delegate stood up. He was covered in green scales and had 6 arms. This is about the vote last week, isn't it? When we refused to give humans a permanent council seat? Jiwoo finally spoke. His voice was quiet but strong. This is about respect. For 200 years, humans have served this council. We patrol your borders. We fight your pirates. We cure your diseases. We feed your hungry. And what do we get? You call us minor species. You say we are too emotional, too violent, too soft. He looked around the room, meeting the eyes, or whatever they used to see, of each counselor. "You are right about one thing," Jiwoo said. "Humans are emotional. We feel joy when we help others. We feel sadness when people suffer. We feel anger when the strong bully the weak. These emotions make us who we are." Velthari waved a crystalline hand. "Spare us your speeches, human. If you wish to leave, then leave. The galaxy will be more efficient without your kind." A small creature with fur like silver silk spoke up. This was Counselor Piptik from the world of gentle winds. "But who will manage the refugee camps? Humans run most of them." "We will find others," Velthari said quickly. "Who will patrol the outer rim?" asked another counselor. "The human fleet keeps the void pirates away from our colonies. Our own fleets will handle it," Velthari insisted. More questions came from around the room. What about the medical stations? The trade negotiations? The translation services? The emergency response teams? To each question, Velthari had the same answer: "We will manage without humans." Jiwoo watched this with sad eyes. He knew what would happen next, but he also knew the council needed to learn this lesson. "Very well," Minji said. "The Human Federation accepts the council's confidence in their ability to function without us. We wish you prosperity and peace." She pulled out a datapad and placed it on the central table. "This contains all our active operations: patrol routes, medical research, trade agreements, refugee support systems. Everything we currently manage." Velthari barely glanced at the pad. "We thank you for this formality. Now if there is nothing else." Jiwoo stepped forward one last time. "There is one thing. A question." "Ask," Velthari said, sounding bored. "Do you know why humans always volunteer for the dangerous jobs?" Jiwoo asked. "Why we're always first to help when disasters strike? Why we protect species that can't protect themselves?" Velthari's crystal form flickered. "Because you are foolish. You waste resources on the weak instead of focusing on the strong." Jiwoo shook his head. "Because we remember being weak. We remember being alone in the dark, looking at the stars and wondering if anyone out there would help us if we needed it. When we joined the galactic community, we decided to be the helpers we once hoped to find." He turned to leave, then stopped. "But you have made it clear that our help is not wanted. So we will go home. We will tend our own gardens. And if one day you realize what you've lost, well, humans have good memories. We remember those who showed us kindness, and we remember those who didn't." With that, Jiwoo and Minji walked out of the Great Hall. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. Behind them, the counselors began to talk again. Most were happy. Finally, they could run the galaxy without human interference. No more emotional decisions, no more wasting resources on weak species, no more human complaints about fairness and justice. Velthari looked at the datapad Minji had left behind. The list was long, very long, but he pushed it aside. "Let them go," he said to the others. "In 6 months, they'll come crawling back, begging to rejoin the council. Humans are too soft to survive on their own." The other counselors agreed. They went back to their regular business, already forgetting about the humans. Outside the council chamber, Jiwoo and Minji walked slowly toward their ship. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Minji asked. Jiwoo looked up at the strange stars of this alien world. "Sometimes the best way to show someone your value is to remove yourself from their life. They'll either realize what they've lost or they won't. Either way, we'll know where we truly stand." As their ship lifted off from the council world, neither of them looked back. The great withdrawal had begun. Across the galaxy, humans packed up their belongings, closed their stations, and headed home. The council thought this was a victory. They were wrong, but they would need time to realize just how wrong they were. In the depths of space, storms were gathering, pirates sharpened their weapons, ancient diseases stirred in forgotten corners, political tensions that humans had carefully managed for decades began to heat up. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when the helpers went home.